What would you say is like your favorite adult job that you've had?
I have never enjoyed a job. Let's say it at the same time. We love to
Relax. I love to relax.
I'm Haley Griswold.
And I'm Jake Deaton.
And this is The Lost Floor. You never told me that.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, Jake.
We launched a podcast.
We launched
Oh
it!
my
We're
God.
live. People know that we exist and that we do this, that we own microphones.
This is the first time we've recorded since The Lost Lore came out.
I know.
And it actually makes me so much more excited to record. I have really loved getting to like hear from people and like have the clips and like.
Me too. And thank you so much to everyone who's been listening and, you know, leaving comments, following us everywhere. Like
It really helps.
It
Like
really helps so much.
rating the show, sharing the show, like all of that stuff is like, it really legitimately helps push it out there.
And we just are so grateful that you guys are, you know, receptive and into it because we're into it and we've been wanting to do this for a long time. When we first started, I should have made a dress code policy that said we just wear all blacks. But somehow I ended up being the mother who lets her adult male son dress himself. And so in the first 5 episodes, we've gotten our Old Navy Plains sweater. We got our Harry Potter getup. Then you went with full-blown Pokemon nerd. Then we went ahead and said hello to Taylor Swift in the Bejeweled apron. And now we look like we're doing some sort of investment banking bro podcast with your Apple shirt on.
You know my nipples right here.
Fantastic.
I'm just getting started. This, like, to me, I'm like, this is my Gaga era. Like, this podcast is where I'm really going to turn it out. Just wait.
I feel like this is a threat.
It is.
And a promise. Before we started the podcast, I never even considered looking at your resume. Big mistake. So today, we are going to be finally doing that. Deep dive into our
jobs.
So do you want to tell me about your first job?
My first job ever was working in a coffee shop when I was in high school. I really, really wanted to go on like that, you know, like how every high school class does like a Euro trip.
Yes.
My little hillbilly high school, this was not a normal thing that happened in my high school. It was like maybe once every 5 years, someone would get together a group of like maybe 3 or 4 students that would go to like London or Paris.
Oh, wow. It was really small.
Too young for OnlyFans.
So you had to do the indie route and go be a barista?
Well, I wasn't the barista. I was the line chef. So I was cooking the sandwiches.
A chef, you say?
Yeah, they said yes, chef, no chef. I wore a big hat. Not really. Basically, I just assembled sandwiches. I loved this job. It was so much fun. It was like so straightforward. You know, I love a job where you have a task.
Yeah.
Where I have like a list. I'm like 7 p.m. clean the board. How
Simple
easy.
enough.
Like I just like tell me what to do. In sex also. But I loved that job. The girls who worked there, the baristas, we got along so well. And this is in like my little conservative hometown. And so they loved me because I was gay and because I did not say I was gay. You know what I mean? Like they liked that I was giving them the flamer
Right.
and everything but name. And
Right.
I used to go right around these girls, and I remember, like, one of my vivid memories after work was they would go and cut down road signs. And there was one road sign where they were, like, really beefing with the local police.
What do you mean? Like that a chainsaw?
They
How
had
were they
a saw.
cutting this down?
It was like a manual saw, like one person on each side, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, like saw back and forth. And they would continuously go steal Lick Log Lane in Avery County. Lick Log was the name of
Lick Log.
And I remember sitting in a car with these baristas, and we, you know, had a long shift. And I remember, I'm going to use fake names, but I remember Hillary saying, "Come on, Chelsea. Come on, Chelsea." And just hearing
I'm
the sound
imagining
of the
Hillary
saw.
Clinton and Chelsea
Chelsea Clinton
sawing off this thing right now.
And the police were around because they stole this road sign like 6 times. I wish I had one. We could put it up here.
That would be amazing.
What was your first job?
To be honest, my first job, I was like 8 years old. Mind you, I'm going to put a disclaimer, they didn't pay me. But when they're giving you 15-minute breaks, you're working, right? So my first job was working in the library when I was in 2nd grade. And this was when I learned that, like, if you want to be taken seriously as a woman behind a desk, you got to be chewing gum. So I had my gum, I was chewing my gum. Kindergartners would come up, they look for their book. I always had my joke ready where I'd be like, "Let me ask my friend Dewey." Decimal. And I type it in. Yeah, baby, they've got rainbow fish down on the yellow aisle.
How did you get this gig? Was this like...
It was like at school. Like I was just friends with our librarian, Miss Franklin, who was a British woman. And actually, as I tell more about other jobs, you'll see that like the British had a great impact on me professionally. And so I would spend days there.
That's amazing. That's actually
but
so cool.
I also worked a second job. That was my sort of secretarial, easy job. Then I had my manual labor shift because
Same age.
I loved Reba McEntire from the beginning of my life.
Single mom who works 2 jobs.
2 years, since I was 8. And so my other job, my manual labor job, was working at the nursing home, interestingly, with my grandmother, who was employed at the nursing home. She didn't go. She was not a resident. This is like parents had me in high school vibes.
She was 37.
She was like barely 40. And she worked in the kitchen and she would like run the food. And then this was like Gordon Ramsay was really big coming up on TV at the time. So I was running this kitchen like, where is Miss Dillon's apple juice? This is orange juice.
Made the fucking tapioca.
Mind you, Miss Dillon doesn't even know how to drink out of a straw at this point anymore. But this was like my first really serious job, was running food at this nursing home. And there was some like, you know, it's a toxic work environment because old people, you know, when they start to lose their minds, this is like no disrespect. This is just straight fact. Like I'm talking about my, you know, professional job. That's all. They start to regress mentally. And so they like to have things like baby dolls and stuffed animals.
It's sweet.
Stuffed animals that you might want when you're also 8. These old ladies are like, they're dirty after you touch them. So it's just not fair. There's no playing, there's no sharing, there's no fun. It's just changing bedpans and delivering
You were
gifts.
changing bedpans
and giving showers, yes. Yes. My Nana was like, I can't do it on my own. So she enlisted me. Never once paid.
There is a pending lawsuit. We can't speak anymore about it.
Yeah, conversation over. My first job where I was paid on the books was working at a nursery. By the way, this is the nursery that when I was born, I went to. Christian
That's
daycare.
Aww.
I'm not going to really say much else just because I'm still scared of management. They told my mom. My mom that I talk too much at work. So they'll be happy to find out that I have a podcast and I can talk as much as I want now. So what about you? What after that?
I feel like most of my best jobs are like the more recent ones even. Like
Yeah.
I had a lot of like odds and ends growing up, but my last job before I left to like take care of my son was working in college admissions, which I think is like such a fun kind of like mysterious topic. Like I remember when I was applying for colleges, I was like, so what do you think of me? Like what really drew me to you? Like I know why I said yes. Why do you say yes?
It's one of those I still wonder like
big
what
time.
was
I
happening
wish
when
I
my
could read the
application went
notes,
across their desk.
right?
Yeah.
Like probably crying, you know, some like, wow, how strong he is. And like
Yes.
smart too.
Right.
One of my favorite apps that I ever received was a really strong application, student from like a private school, great grades, great extracurriculars, and then I get to the essay. I'm going to tell you the essay is important, but it's like the grades are more important. Like the essay is kind of what could put you over or under if you're on the edge.
See, that's interesting because I always felt that my essay is what got me into college. So tell me
Well,
more.
I mean, it still could be, but it depends like where you're falling on the and like if you're right on the edge, the essay can push you over the finish line. But I remember I liked this kid. I was like, I want to admit him. And then I got to the essay, and the first line, I'm paraphrasing here, but was something like, I'm kind of a dichotomy. I'm like a mystery. I'm 2 people in one body that you wouldn't expect. And I was like, okay, LGBT, like let's get into it. Like, you know, you have a LGBT reader. That's where I thought the direction we were going. Second sentence, I'm a white boy who likes rap music.
So you were like school shooter alert. Decline. Rejected.
And you just exactly. But I think one of my all-time favorite parts of working at missions is that we do a lot of recruitment. So you get to travel all around the country. You get to visit all sorts of schools. And I will say, you're visiting a lot of, shall we say, very expensive, very nice schools, trying to recruit some of those full-paying students.
For sure.
And I remember that I once visited a school that, first of all, multiple gates, like proving my identity. And it's not just like, you know, at the front of a public school, like where we would have gone to school, you're like talking to someone in the office, just being like, prove you don't have a weapon on you.
Right.
But here I'm like going through multiple gates that are like miles away from the school.
Right.
I get to the school, it literally looks like Hogwarts. Like the library is like a castle.
Wow.
The students are all in uniform. It's a boarding school, like they live there. And meanwhile, I went to a high school where this was a common interaction. Oh, do you have class in the trailer today? Yes. Which one? Which trailer? And so it was a little hard to connect with these students, I would say. But overall, I would. That's probably my favorite adult job.
Didn't you have one experience there where they weren't just having you recruit, where they weren't just having you read essays?
So every year we did this scholarship thing where, we would assign this amazing full ride scholarship to a handful of students, like really accomplished students, super competitive scholarship. It's a huge deal. And it was like, had media coverage, and every year it was on the news. And they bring the president, and they bring the provost, and they bring the dean of admissions, and they brought Jake. Now, my title wasn't really up there with those other people. So you might be wondering, why bring Jake? Jake wasn't on the news. The mascot was on the news. Jake was in the mascots. When I talk about... I actually think that everyone should be forced to do this at some point in their life just to understand the misery of being in one of these suits. Like, when I go back to Disney World, it's no longer a fun experience. I want to just go up to them and be like, I know. You'll be okay. Like, the heat, that my hair was just plastered to my head. You're wearing these giant gloves. You're wearing these big hulking boots, just like,
And wasn't it like during COVID where you had to wear a mask
Yes.
the mascot?
And it was awful. You can't see where you're going. You have, like, literally you have a handler. Like, someone was leading me around because I literally have this, like, a little line of vision. A horrible, traumatic experience.
No matter how big this podcast gets, you ain't going on the Masked Singer.
I ain't going on the Masked Singer. It's a panic attack.
That's so funny.
But my first post-college job was working right here at the fruit stand, we used to call it, Apple. And I talk about, as good as a job gets for retail. Like, anyone who's worked in retail knows that it's a fucking nightmare.
I've never done retail where I'm like trying to sell a product to someone, especially technology that half of them probably are struggling to understand.
Well, I will say the good thing about Apple is that, like, in terms of retail jobs, has to be the best because the people who are coming in, as you say, don't understand their phone. They don't know. I could tell them anything. Yeah. I could tell them the phone will wax your asshole, and I'd be like, "Oh, you just don't know how to use it. Like, you don't know where the button is," and they would believe me. And they already have this sort of, like, Apple has this sort of je ne sais quoi, like that people respect the company. It's like everybody likes the products. Like, I never felt like I had to sell people shit. I was always selling people down. They'd be like, I want the $1,500 iPhone. I was like, Susan, you text 2 people and like you know, like you don't need the 1 terabyte gigabyte hard drive, girl. Like, I was always getting people to buy a less expensive product. My customer reviews, stellar, by the way. I loved Apple. But my favorite thing about working at Apple was that I worked at the Fifth Avenue store. So the Cube, the iconic Apple Cube. Can't you just picture me there? In this very shirt. But my favorite thing about working there is that we got so many customers from my favorite country in the world because they were the nicest, funnest, friendliest people I have ever met in my entire life.
Florida?
Brazil.
Okay, I love a Brazilian.
Me and the Brazilians were a match made in heaven in that Apple store. So I came to find out that in Brazil, the taxes on luxury goods are such that it was actually cheaper for these people to come to New York, take a vacation, buy their Apple products, and then fly home. And so that was like a very common...
plane tickets included.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy?
Cheaper to buy an iPhone that way. That's insane.
And so every day I would have customers from Brazil, and we were kikiing, we were partying, we were laughing, we were dancing at the table. I remember I would always get them to teach me a little Portuguese here and there. And my favorite word that I still remember, and every time I meet someone from Brazil, I pull it out, paralelepípedo. And it means the little cobblestones in the street, like, cobblestone street. And and these people just match my energy so well because I'd be like, I speak a little Portuguese. And they'd be like, oh, do you? And I'd be like, oh, paralelepípedo. And they'd be like, ah, paralelepípedo. And then we would all be screaming. It was the best. By far my favorite part of working there.
They're the best.
Speaking of jobs, this doesn't all just happen. So I want you to please, please, please consider signing up for our Patreon. We have a lot of extra bonus content on there that's coming. There's already a lot of extra bonus content on there.
You can watch the full video episodes on Patreon, not just the clips that you see on Instagram and TikTok, although we also appreciate you following and liking on Instagram and TikTok.
And please, please rate and review the show on Spotify Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
It seriously does really help because this is our passion passion project, and we're just really happy that you're here and helping us make it happen.
And we want to turn it into a job.
A real job.
What would you say what was your like kind of hardest job?
The hardest job I have ever had was being a dog walker.
That's my nightmare. That's my nightmare. That's my nightmare.
I know. I was a dog walker in New York City, my first summer in New York. And
in New York.
In New York.
God
in New
damn.
York. And I want to say this. There are 50 to 60 right now in Manhattan alone. Clifford the big red dog, big ass dogs, living in Manhattan in the smallest quarters. And I know.
That seems humane.
Because I was walking them and no one else wanted to walk them. Because, by the way, this was professional. I had to go to a training. I went to a warehouse in Brooklyn to do a training where you had to like practice putting all the various different Boy Scout knot leash things on the dog. And they had a stuffed animal. They had to use a panda because they don't make a big enough dog stuffed animal, so they had to use a panda.
You were having to do it on a little gay twink
who
was wearing the puppy mask. And they were killing two birds with one stone.
So I'm trying to get it around him, and I couldn't figure it out. The instructor literally told me how to do it because no one wanted to do it. No one wants to walk these big ass dogs. They were like, you girl.
The
like,
5 foot tall girl, her.
And I'm not even trying to be like, I'm so little, I'm so tiny. I was walking dogs bigger than me. I am not joking. By the way, okay. The way I got this job was because one of my friends was doing it, and we were hanging out one time, and I kept seeing her get all these texts from different numbers being like, hey girl, you free? Hey girl, you free? And I remember being like, she's a sugar baby. She is, and she's making money.
Where do you sign up for that training?
And here was the thing, I was desperate. I was asking her about it, and when she said dog walking, I was like, okay. So that's how I ended up with the job. And I thought being a dog walker was going to lead to me having some sort of beautiful New York romance. I would always take the jobs where you would like walk the same dog for 2 weeks, you know, once in the morning, once at night in the same neighborhood. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll find like a cute guy. Like all that happened was I got my ass dragged across the pavement. Sunburn like you couldn't believe, chafing in my Nike
shorts. Did they
shorts.
ever like try to fight another dog? That would be my biggest nightmare.
The worst one did involve a skateboard and another dog. Yeah, and it was bad. We'll just go briefly here and move off. The mounds of shit that Cliffords produce.
And you have to pick it up.
And that is why I have a cat.
Meow,
For
meow.
real, meow, meow. Worst job. Hardest job ever.
But see, I do love like kind of an odd and end job, like just something that's like a little off the beaten path. One of my favorite things to do when we were in college was to do extra work or like volunteer to be in like little online videos. Like I did an online video with a friend once. I was an extra in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in the episode. You can see me. It's in the first episode of season 3, and it was like a military episode. So she's like doing stand up at like some sort of like military base. And so everybody's like in the camo, like we had to get like haircuts for this job. I'm like, don't do that. Like don't.
Because how much did you make at the end of the day?
Like maybe $150. Like, and I had a horrible military haircut. Like, it is not worth it, young actors of New York. It is not worth it. To see me in this episode, I should find the image because literally zoom, like pixels. But the funniest thing about that experience was that, you know, it's a military base, and so it's like you want all the guys to be, and it's like, when's that show set? I've never even seen it, like in the 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be like kind of burly, manly guys. Do you think that the extras on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel set from New York City, starving actors, were burly, manly men? No.
They were dreaming of burly,
They
manly
were dreaming
men.
of burly, manly men. Literally, they'd be like, all right, we're going to clap and cheer now after this next like when she says this joke, we're going to clap and cheer and, you know, rah, rah. And they would be like, action. And you're like, yes! Yes, queen! Work, mama! And then the director would be like, all right, we're going to take that back. And we're going to try to drop into our chest resonance.
When I was in college, I actually did one day of extra work for SNL.
That's cool.
And I was in one of the like pre-shot commercial
Yeah,
parodies.
I love those. Yeah,
and it was making fun of Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace, you know, the window thing.
Of course.
I just remember that Safe Flight got really pissed about the commercial. So now you can't find it anywhere. They were like, how dare you insinuate that we're pedophiles at our company?
That's what the skit was about?
Yes.
What?
After I quit the Christian daycare, I got a job working at a movie theater, and I worked concessions. And this job taught me the value of being a teenage girl and forging a relationship with a middle-aged woman.
That's an important lesson.
It was such a critical, crucial. From the library, I learned the gum, and from the movie theater, I learned the camaraderie of a woman twice your age. Her name was Joanne. And you know how important this relationship was, because who was the first person to subscribe to our Patreon?
Stop. Joanne!
Shout
Hi, Queen!
out Mama Jo. She is still my girl to this day.
Oh,
Let me tell you,
God.
I was such the worst employee of the movie theater, because I was like, I can work one day a week. I'm in drama. I'm in the drama club. I really can only work Wednesday nights because I need to be able to afford my Tarzan costume. So let's make that work. And Joanne, you know, there were so many like single mom who works 2 jobs who deserved that Wednesday night shift way more than me. But Joanne, she gave me that Wednesday night shift. And let me tell you another thing. The you have to pay for your sweet tart ropes rule did not apply to me. It did
You still
not
have
apply.
a box.
And did I ever clock out for my 15-minute break? No. I made $2.30 on my 15-minute break, because of course this is like cut from my $7 an hour. Yeah, so that was like a really critical one. And that was the second time that I had 2 jobs at once. So I worked Wednesday nights at the movie theater, and then I worked at a hotel. And okay, it was for the kids crew. So it was like parents' night out. They'd drop their kids off. So this isn't regular babysitting. We're going out on the beach in Florida hunting ghost crabs at night.
That's really cool.
We're making bonfires and stuff. This is the first time I'm ever meeting someone from Boston, an 8-year-old, kind of brash, uncomfortable. These were like critical jobs for me. I'm like 16, 17 years old doing them.
This is also such lost lore. I did not know you did all these.
Yes, I did all of those, yeah. Oh my God. Yes, Jake, I can't believe I've never told you this. My boss who worked there was kind of intense. She was like really mad that I didn't invite her to my high school graduation.
How old was she?
40, I don't know. And I also only had this job for like the summer before I went to college, so I really didn't know her well.
Yeah.
But she was really offended that I didn't invite her to graduation, and it was weird. We left kind of on bad terms when I left the job, whatever. Then my grandmother passed away when I was in college. I went home to visit, and you know how you do whenever you're grieving. You start thinking, I should probably see a medium. I need to connect with the dead.
She's from Florida.
I'm from Florida. I was like, and my Ouija board's back in New York. I gotta go find my grandma. Let's get some candles. I walk into this like weird astrology tarot shop, and who should I see but my old boss from the Hilton, who's gonna give me this reading to meet my grandma. And here was the thing. She was so far off the mark. But because I knew her, I was like, whoa, chills, wait, no, seriously, can we take a break? Like, I was like giving my all to this woman because I knew her and we had left on bad terms. I felt so badly that like she was mad at me that like I didn't really give it 2 weeks. I was like, I'm out of here when I quit the job. So the least I could do was be like, you seriously, you're so right. My grandmother's this is freaking me out. Crazy.
I don't know what I would do. I think I would turn on my heel and leave if I saw someone there that I wasn't expecting to see. I've never been to a psychic medium, though. They scare me.
Well, okay, this was the thing. There's a theatrics to it. What you see in Wicked is kind of what you get when you go to a tarot shop. That is where the wizard is nowhere to be seen.
There's a little smoke and mirror. Yeah.
And then, so when I came in, like, it was just sort of burning incense, low lighting, etc. A couple crushed rose petals on the floor. And then my other...
You hear some tingling, the
like,
lights flash.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little smoke
And
fog.
I remember, I'm not even joking, I feel like people are going to think I'm lying. It was raining that night, too. But I just remember, like, we're all sitting in these fold-out chairs, very AAs, like, crazy people.
Wait, it was multiple people, all in one reading?
It's like a group of us. We're actually calling all our dead people together.
It's a big party.
Yeah, big party. Yeah, and then it's like sort of a like, and now goddess, I won't say her name, Alicia, will become a part. And then she comes out of the curtains and she has this head thing on, and it...
Did she like, was she like, Haley?
No, she came out like so serious and then like straightening back into it. Like, it was uncomfortable. And then like,
Damn.
but if I remember correct, I think she did try to act until the end like we had never known each other. And I'm like, some medium if you don't remember me, right?
Didn't you see me coming
Didn't you see
tonight?
me coming? Any part of you believe that psychics are real?
I'm a big skeptic. I don't really believe anything. Like,
I even see sometimes on TikTok people who are like cat whisperers, and they like can talk to your cat to see if your cat, what they think about you. I'm even kind of on the verge with that. My finger hovers above the button. I'm like, well, should I find out if MJ knows my name? Like, I really could.
That is a grift. All you have to do. Oh, she loves you so much. She thinks you're the
when
best.
You give her the food in the can.
But the thing is, if someone told me that about my cat, she does. She does. Like, I get why.
One came back to me when you were talking about grifts.
Go.
Talk about getting taken advantage of. When I was in 5th grade, I got selected to go on my very first trip to Washington, D.C. by myself for the student government thing I did. It was a huge deal for me, which we should someday talk about, like the first time you traveled by yourself.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was trying to make money to afford my plane tickets, and what I would do was collect aluminum cans, and there was a metal drop-off where you could get money. So it would be like, I'm talking like, and we would crush them like 3 bags, black bags full of cans, and I'd make $4. And it was a summer of just collecting cans. I looked
Did
like
you make the money?
I went on the trip, yes.
Damn.
Yes, I came to D.C.
From the cans?
Well, cans, and I did a bake sale or 2.
Wow.
At the nursing home. They forget that they already came around and paid you.
I mentioned earlier that, like, a job is a job. That is one lesson that we learned early. Like, no matter what it is, like, even this, which I love so much. I was upstairs eating dinner, like, I just want to relax. Like, do I want to get in front of these lights? And when I get attention, when people watch something that I'm in or that I made or that I'm part of, it's the best feeling in the world. But even, I'm, like, dragging myself downstairs. I'm like, fine, I'll get in front of the lights and I'll have a conversation with my best friend. Fine. Like, in that vein, I remember I did a couple of professional theater contracts when we were in college. And, you know, that's like what you want to do as someone who studies this shit. I remember...
Shit.
It shows you where my mind is. I remember when I got the roles, I was so excited, and I was like, just like thrilled to be doing it. I'm like, people are paying to watch this. I have a dressing room. I have a mic that goes through my hair. I was like, that's how I felt like I made it in the theater world. I was like, you see my little mic up here? But I remember just dreading having to go. I was like, I can't drink milk. It gives me phlegm. I can't drink alcohol. It dries me out. I can't, like, I'm like tired. I want to go to sleep. Like, these people are annoying. It's just awful. Like, no matter how much you feel like you're living your dream, I would be like at my little station in the dressing room, and they would call us for vocal warm-ups, and I'd be like, fucking again? Like, we did that yesterday. Just like, and I did love it.
That is one thing about any job you have.
It's a job.
It's a job. The worst is when you have a night shift and you feel like, okay, I'm not working until 5, but I owe the whole day goes to you because I'm spending from the time I wake up until I'm there dreading it.
And can we talk about, do you get the Sunday scaries?
Kind of bad.
I get like suicidal. It gets me so bad. Like, I had an old boss at one of my former jobs that would text me on Sunday nights because she knew that I was at home just like, and like, she would be like, don't have the Sunday scaries. You're okay. Nothing's bad's happening tomorrow. You're not getting fired. And I would just like sit and I would like cry and just like pit in my stomach.
I'd say that one of the toughest but most rewarding jobs I have ever had is being your best friend. I love you.
I love you too. Finally, time to go relax.
Time to go relax. Thanks for tuning into The Lost Lore.
Bye.
The lost, 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 lost.